Welcome to the show. This is the Monday, January 10th edition of the NBA Triple Double Show, powered by the Predictive Playbook and presented by SportsMemo TV. And as usual, I am joined by my good friend, professional sports bettor, Ronald Cabang. And we have you covered for tonight's action. We are currently 33-14 against the spread over the last 15 shows. That translates to 70.3% winners. Ronald, welcome to the show. And we're going to get started right away here with the 76ers, who have really kind of benefited by getting COVID early in the cycle. They've been at full strength now for about the last 2 weeks, and it's really starting to show. I had them as a 5%er, as most everybody knows, this past Friday, and they manhandled San Antonio, who looked horribly bad at times, looked more like a pickup game at the LA Fitness Center than an NBA game. But the Sixers got the job done, and I think they're starting to really come on to a win streak here that is going to go more than the 6 games that they're currently on. They are now 22-16, 18-19-1 against the spread, 15-21 over. It means that the under has one more than the over. Away, they're 14-8, and as a favorite, they're 14-6. And the Houston Rockets, I don't know the last time they actually had a 2-game winning streak. It could have been during the Bush administration, possibly, but seriously, they are just not a good team. And this is a situation where you have 2 teams going in opposite directions. Yeah, you can say Houston's cheap, but they're cheap for the wrong reasons. They are a bad team. They rarely win. They usually have a quarter where they get blown out by double digits, sometimes even by 20 points in a quarter. And you just don't put money into an investment thinking that you're getting the cheap side of the equation. Yes, it's possible that the Rockets would cover this game. I don't see any way on this earth they could actually win this game straight up, as good as the 76ers have looked. But, Ronald, some of the key stats in this game is points allowed per game. Philly has the 8th best defense just in that metric. Now, they do play a little bit slower, but even based on pace of play being factored in, they are one of the top defensive units in the association. Houston's dead last, no matter how you look at it. They are allowing 116.5 points per game in a season where the league is scoring fewer points than they did last year. And that's just horrid. That's the word. That is exactly the word. Embiid had now 4 consecutive games scoring 30 or more points. And he is unstoppable. And he was unstoppable against the Spurs, who had no presence in the paint to stop him. And neither do the Rockets. So I am leaning pretty hard on this game, Ronald, with the 76ers. I also ran my models, and the predictive model for this game is predicting that the 76ers will score at least 111 points and have 14 or fewer turnovers. And in past games in which the 76ers have met those measures or exceeded them, they have earned a 74-26 against the spread record. That's 74.5% winning bets over the last 5 seasons. And when they're a road double-digit favorite in this situation, scoring 111 or more and having 14 or fewer turnovers, a perfect 4-0 against the spread over the last 5 seasons. Ronald, this game seems too easy. It just seems too easy. And when I feel like this, I do feel like I get worried. But tell me if I'm missing something on this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm with you. The Sixers are the only way I could look at this one. They won 6 in a row, and they won by double digits in 4 of those games, including the last 3 in a row. They won by double digits too. The Rockets, they've lost 10 of their last 11, and 9 of those were by double digits. So this big line on the road, it's validated. But with that said, there's a couple of different situational factors that's kind of making me a little weary of it. That keeps me off of this game for now. Possible look aheads to the Hornets and the Celtics, at home for the 76ers. The last time they had a homestand of 2 or more games was on December 11th. So it's been a while, so that means they've either been on the road or they played a 1-game homestand, then back on the road again. And then there's also the Rockets revenge, which might not mean much just because they're the Rockets, both offensively and defensively, they're not that great. But there's also that angle where, they can come back and say, hey, we want to try a little bit harder because they beat us by 20 earlier this season. So those are just like 2 little situational factors that you kind of want to look into. a little bit. But I wouldn't back the Rockets here. It's either Sixers or nothing. I'll probably wait a little bit more, dig a little deeper, and see where I go with this game.
It's got me thinking, Ronald. I was trying to think of the word I was feeling there for a second, but my in-game betting has been pretty darn good of late. Just yesterday, and I do this on my own, so you just have to take my word for it that I'm telling the truth. I mean, why would I make it up? But I actually bet the money line with the 49ers yesterday when it was 17-0. And I just felt like, okay, pizza money. It was not a big bet, but I got 950 and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
So I'm segueing that into this game where we do have a prohibitive favorite, double-digit road favorite. I do think that the Sixers will score 111 or more points. The turnovers is kind of iffy. The faster the pace, the more chance there are for more turnovers. But in-game betting here, my strategy will be this, and we'll evaluate this full game for the purpose of the show record. However, I'll go 50% pre-flop at the current line of, I believe it's 10.5. And then during the game, if the Sixers are sluggish, like you said, they're looking ahead to Charlotte, 2-game homestand, better teams on the horizon for sure. They could come out of the gate flat tonight. And if at any time the Rockets would have a lead in that first quarter, especially the second quarter, you're going to get the Sixers at probably -5, -5.5, or lower. So my recommendation would be to look for -5.5 in game only during the first half. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I still have 50% pre-flop on the bet with the 76ers. So that's that. Let's move on to the next pick here, Ronald. And the game is the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are 6th in the Eastern Conference. They have already won as many games this season as they did last year. Complete turnaround. They're 26-13 with one push against the spread. Their under is 25-15 for the season. Sacramento Kings are 10 games under 500. And now, yes, they are playing like the Kings we thought they were going to be. A relatively equal. It is an even record of 20-21 on the total. At home, they're 10-13. As a dog, they're 10-18. I suspect you're probably going to go to the total in this matchup, but I'll turn it over to you and you can tell us all.
Yeah, I'm looking at the under in this one, John. Both of these teams they're playing on their second game in 2 nights. On the Cavs side, it's back-to-back road games, and then on the Kings side, it's road to home. So there's travel involved on both sides here. They both lost last night too, and in this season, games where both teams are playing back-to-back and they both lost the first game, they're actually 3-0 to the under with an average margin of 13 points. So they go under by 13 points from the closing total. A couple more trends to back this play. The Cavs are 5-2 to the under, and the Kings are 6-2 to the under in second half of back-to-back games this season. Like you mentioned earlier, the Cavs are pretty, a strong under team for the full season, and it's mainly due to their defense, which is number 3 in the league in defensive rating for the full season. And both of these teams are in the bottom 10 in offensive rating their last 3 games. I think Cleveland's kind of getting used to not having Rubio as a backup point guard or playing with oh my God, I'm blanking now. Trying to hold my coffin. Trying to play with Garland. So I think they're trying to get their chemistry together with Rondo on the team. And that's why they're struggling offensively. I feel like they're going to do a little bit better with a few games on with him in the lineup now. But overall, I think all the signs are really pointing to the under in this one.
Yeah, and I'm with you on this for sure. And I have a betting angle here. I'll just quickly present to you. It's done very well. It's 35-9. It's 30-8 for 79%. And this is betting the under. And it has to do with the Kings and the fact that they are playing their 5th game in 7 days, coming off a loss, and with a total of 220 or more points. Over the last 5 seasons, it's gone 23-6 to the under. And over the last 25 seasons, which scoring going all the way back then was you never had a total of 220. So most of these games have occurred over the last 10 seasons. That's 30-8 for 79%. It's 2-0 already this season, 18-5 to the under the last three. So this is a pretty powerful, situational betting angle that supports the under in a pretty big way. And lastly, 65% of these games, Ronald, went under by at least 7 points. So I think we're square on the under on this one for sure. Now, the last game is interesting because it has to do with the Spurs. And the last time I saw them, it was against the Sixers, and they were just awful. It was just, I couldn't even believe it was a Popovich-led team and completely disorganized, chaotic style of play. So I don't know if that translates over here to Madison Square Garden, but that does mean that they're playing the Knicks here. Another road game. The Knicks have been a largely inconsistent team, but they started playing defense, which you mentioned in the last show. And that's the only way that the Knicks are going to win and get back into playoff contention. They're 2 games under 500, 18-22 against the number, 23-17 favoring the under. The Spurs are 22-17 against the spread, but 9 games under 500. What's the best bet in this matchup, Ronald?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Knicks here. This is going to be the Spurs' 7th and final game of their road trip. So they've been on the road for a while, and they're still going to be shorthanded. And they're coming off a tough OT loss to the Brooklyn Nets just last night. And on the Knicks side, both Kemba and Fournier, they're a game time decision. But I think if either one is active for them tonight, it's going to be a big boost for them offensively. Like you mentioned, they've been playing a lot better defense lately, so that's not a problem for them. But in their last game without Fournier and Kemba, they lost to the Celtics by, what was it, like 20 points or something like that. So they're also at home as favorites of 7 points or less. They're pretty solid. They're 7-3 against the spread in that situation this season. I think the line right now is at 6. So it's kind of on the border there. But I think it's a telling story that when the Knicks are supposed to win in a tight game, they get it done. And another notable league-wide trend this season, teams are 2-6 against the spread on second half of back-to-back games when the first game went into OT, and that's active on the Spurs tonight too. I think the Knicks take advantage of the fatigue here and bounce back from a terrible game against the Celtics. They should win and cover and possibly win by double digits.
Yeah, I like it. And talk about inconsistency in that back-to-back games against the Celtics. The Knicks came back from a 25-point deficit and then, score 70-some points in the second game. It just didn't I never saw that coming. Like I would have thought the game would have been on both teams over 100 and the flow of the game would have been a lot better than what it was. But that's an example of this inconsistency, but it shouldn't affect them tonight. For sure against the Spurs. The Knicks, I will add here, is 34-17 versus teams that have poor defenses. And by definition, that's 46% shooting or higher that is being allowed. And the Spurs are 46.1 allowed opponent shooting percentage on the season. So that plays right into the Knicks, and they're 34-17 over the last 2 seasons of games when facing an opponent like that. So that is a good pick there too. I feel confident about these guys like I do on all the shows. So we have the Knicks. We're under in the Kings game, and we are on the Sixers. And, the Sixers, if you want to play that in game like I outlined, I think that's the way I'm going to go with it instead of betting it all. There's also, the outside chance that Embiid gets a night off because they're playing against a Houston Rockets type team. I don't think that's going to be the case, but you have to pay attention just like we do every day. So, Ronald, that is going to be a wrap for us for the Monday edition of the Triple Double Show. We're going to be back Wednesday with more good stuff. Hopefully we report another 2-1 or 3-0 night here. I will be doing a solo NBA Triple Double Show with 1 or 2 picks tomorrow. And they will be picks that Ronald and I have talked about before I record it. So know that it's just the same show, but it's just my face on the show. So with the end of this show here, we're going to I'm going to edit this out, Ronald, but let's see, 3. Want to thank all of you for watching the Triple Double Show, and take a moment to subscribe and hammer the bell. You'll get notified for every single show and every single sport that SportsMemo TV provides. So have yourself a great Monday and a great night in the NBA betting markets. And we'll see you again Wednesday for another edition of the NBA Triple Double Show. So until then, bet with your head and never over it, and may all the wins be yours.